at WMPG.org. Next up is Nonprofit Insider.
The horizon's drawing near. Pedal to the floor, no more feet in the door. Gonna drive right out of this bitter night. I'm a constant seeker in Converse sneakers, always chasing sunset.
Had a gander at the weather before we start. Mostly sunny today, highs in the upper 30s tonight. Rain, sleet, mainly in the evening. Tomorrow, rain, chance of sleet in the morning, and then turning wonderfully beautiful, etc. So now we're ready for Nonprofit Insider with David Unger.
Well, this is kind of exciting for me. For the last couple of years, I've been talking about having a radio show in regards to nonprofits, and it's actually starting today. Nonprofit Insider, we hope to have a weekly talk show with executive directors of local nonprofits. Having worked for the nonprofit world for over 30 years, I've realized that the majority of the community does not know about the organizations that provide critical services we sometimes take for granted. The only time they hear from nonprofits is when they get their annual appeal letter every year just asking them for money. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to meet some of the leadership of nonprofits in our community and to try and understand a little bit about what they do. I do have to say that the opinions expressed on Nonprofit Insider are not necessarily those of WMPG, its staff and underwriters, or of the USM. Today we have a special guest with us, Andy Greif. Andy is the Executive Director of the Community Bicycle Center in Biddeford. Hi, Andy.
Hey, David.
How are you?
Really good.
Well, thanks for coming to the first show.
Thank you.
So I can ask you all kinds of questions that we never know are going to happen, right?
Especially talking with you.
So you know me. And I know Andy. I do need to say, for full disclosure, that I've been recently elected to the board of directors of the Community Bicycle Center, and I've been working with Andy on and off for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, probably. Yep.
Good. So tell us a little bit about the Community Bicycle Center.
The short story is we're a youth development program, so we're not like a typical community bicycle center in some of the major cities. So our mission's not around getting bikes in kids' hands, even though that's a large part of what we do. So we're a youth development program. So one way I try to explain it is think back to when you were younger, and who were the people that were your mentors? Where were the places that you went to where you learned things about yourselves and where you had opportunities to grow?
All right, let me ask a question. When you talk about a youth development program, I walk into the shop. What happens? What do I see?
So if you walked in at 2 o'clock this afternoon, you would see kids working alongside adults rebuilding bicycles. Kids are fixing their own bikes. They're fixing bikes that they've picked from the stash that have been donated to us. They're fixing bikes for our fleet bikes, for the bike rides we have pretty much year-round.
All right. And so when you say they're working with adults, are these volunteers, staff people? Who are they?
Both. They're volunteers, they're staff. They're working with other kids that have spent years and years with us. So it's that diversity.
Okay, good. And what's the average age of the young adult that's there?
11 to 14 years of age. And it tails off on each side of that, but 11 and 14 are the predominant ages right now.
Okay. I do have to admit, the first couple of times I went down there and I saw the shop and I saw the kids there and your interaction with them, I think I called you the Pied Piper. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
We were walking down the street and kids were actually hanging out their windows of their houses yelling, "Hi, Andy." So that must be a good feeling for you.
It is, and even more so, kids coming back. Yesterday there was a young, he's recently graduated high school I hadn't seen in several years. He came back in yesterday to say hi, to work on his bike. He needed it for transportation and to have fun.
Okay.
So, we're part of the fabric of the community.
So when you talk about youth development, at the end of the day, what would you like to see happen with these kids?
I'd like to see them have opportunities to learn about themselves and to learn about things that will help them be successful in with their families, with friends, at school.
So why
work.
do you need bikes to do that?
Bikes are just our tool. Other organizations may use a lacrosse stick or karate. For us, bikes are a really effective way of connecting with kids. This is a generalization, but most of the kids that we serve aren't the ones having parents taking them to lacrosse or karate or varsity sports. Most of the kids that we intersect with, we've never met a parent. So it's a non-traditional way for those kids to come in and have a sense of belonging and do something that's fun for them.
So is it almost like you're creating this is probably the wrong term, but a sub-family that these kids can come to and know that they have a group of adults who they can rely on?
Yep. I mean, they'll even use that word, that it's a second family for them. Yep, definitely.
So as an executive director, I'm assuming if we were to look at the size of your organization, we can go small, mid, large. Where would you put yourself?
Small. We have 3 full-time staff now and supported by about 115 volunteers.
Wow, that's a lot of volunteers.
Yeah. And, some of those folks we see once a year at a special event. Some we see, regularly every week.
Right.
So, that's diverse also.
Oh, absolutely. So if you had to define one problem that you would see as an executive director of a small nonprofit that deals with kids, what would it be?
I think one of the hardest things is that we have to be really good generalists. We have to be able to do everything from cleaning the bathrooms to doing what we're doing right here, to fundraising. So we have to do everything. We don't have back office supports as larger nonprofits or as businesses have.
So when your board says to you, we need to get a letter out, you kind of roll your eyes and say, oh, now I got to get this letter out.
Well, I always have this quip that when someone says you, that's a dirty word to me, because that usually means me.
Right. And I assume your staff is fairly well stretched.
Yeah, very stretched. One staff person, Andrew, he is in charge of our programming and program development and our volunteer management. And Bronwyn's in charge of our community relations and our development work. And we have a welding program now with kids, and she's in charge of that welding program.
What do you mean welding? What do you weld?
These kids are learning to grow the youth development work through learning the technical skills related to welding steel. And so they're creating works of art through welding.
So they're not building bikes, they're doing alternative
things.
No,
we can't do that. We can't get insurance to do that.
Okay.
So that was real clear that we cannot have any movable objects.
So what are some of the other programs that you offer?
Well, let me back up a second. I kind of put them into 3 categories. One, we do bike mechanics related work, bike repair with kids. And then we do cycling adventures with kids, and then community service projects. And then that 4th leg right now is the welding.
Right.
So we have 5 or 6 afternoons a week, kids drop in and are doing bike repair. They're picking a bike that they'll fix to take ownership of. We have a bike doctor program where we have a mobile bike shop. We take kids who've spent more time with us, cycle into different neighborhoods, set up shop on a street corner. Kids come out of their houses and we help them fix their bikes. We have a quasi-mentoring program where we match kids and adults, and we formally teach bike repair over 8 sessions. So those are on the bike repair side. On the cycling side, tomorrow we'll kick off our training for our Trek Across Maine team.
Huh. For
those of you that don't know about it, the Trek is a fundraiser for the American Lung Association of the Northeast. And we've had a Trek Across Maine team this will be our 15th year. And it's one of these rite of passage events where the kids and adults that are involved with us with that are learning how to fundraise, how to train, how to be strong both emotionally and physically, how to deal with challenging feelings when you're riding in the sleet and rain tomorrow.
Right.
In the summer, we have 4 bike rides a week. One's girls only. The girls need a chance to get away from boy energy. And then we have 3 bike rides a week. They're either mountain bike rides or tandem bike riding, which you'll probably ask me more about that in a minute. and road riding. So we've got a variety of cycling adventures. We're hoping in a couple of years to have a cross-country youth adult trip. And then on the community service side, I mentioned the Bike Doctor program where we go out into the neighborhoods with kids. And then we get asked for a lot of outreach activities that kids get involved in.
So let's go back a little bit and talk about the volunteers/mentors. So the kids come in, and one of the things that I'm really impressed about your organization, at 2:00, everything really just shuts down and everything is kid-focused.
Yeah, we're present with them.
Right. So the staff isn't hiding in an office and doing busy work at that point, but they're actually on the floor with the kids working with them.
Yes.
When a volunteer comes in, and does a child build a relationship with a specific volunteer?
Some do, some don't. I mean, that's one of the things that some of the kids learn. There's a child that'll be in here this afternoon that gravitated towards Andrew, and they have a really tight relationship, and we've had to help him transfer that kind of relationship to other people like myself. So that's child's learning.
So do you find that sometimes if there's issues at home or the kids are having issues at school, they open up to you as part of this relationship?
A little bit, but we try to set, I guess, quasi-boundaries around that. We are not a therapy program, and we are not a counseling program, even though that's my background.
Right.
So, we're careful about that.
But the kids do open up.
Yes.
The question is then, how do you refer it, or how do you take that information and help the kids?
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned the tandem bike.
Yep.
I think yours is a little unusual, isn't it?
Well, I mean, we have a fleet of 12 traditional tandems, or two-person bikes, but we also have a 4-person bike called a quad.
And how do you ride that?
Well, I've been the captain. Not many people want to have that role, but I'm assuming it's analogous to riding a tractor trailer. You just have to be shifting earlier and more frequently. You've got to take wide turns. We've got to communicate effectively to each other, and we have our own language of communication as the wind's blowing in our ears so we can hear each other.
Do the kids kind of jockey to see who gets on the tandem with you?
Yes, they do. Yeah. But like adults, some people don't want to have a thing to do it, and some people are jazzed about it and really want to be on that bike.
All right. So if you had to identify 3 top issues that you face as a nonprofit and a nonprofit executive director, what would they be?
Well, the first one I'll say for myself is just having balance in my life, and and helping create an environment so the staff and everyone has a balance in their life, because all the things we have to do can consume you. I think one of the other issues that's more present in my mind, just because we finished our annual report recently, is that a lot of nonprofits, and it's customary to evaluate them based on how expensive it is for them and how much money they're putting into fundraising and administrative costs. But most people don't know that the research shows that that's not an effective way to measure the success of a nonprofit.
So when you say measure the success of a nonprofit, what do you mean?
For me, it's our mission impact, how we're affecting and improving the lives of the kids that we serve.
Okay. So let's take a little break here. Again, this is WMPG and Nonprofit Insider. This is David Unger, and I'm the new host of the show. And today we're welcoming Andy Greif with us. Andy's the executive director of the Community Bicycle Center. Welcome again, Andy.
Thank you, David.
So we talked about 2 of the 3 issues.
Another issue, and again, I'm saying generalizations, is, as you can see, we have a lot of volunteers, and we need a lot of volunteer support. It'll help us be sustainable past my life, I hope, as we increase the number of folks committed and supporting our organization. And at the same time, when you have a volunteer base, you never know whether people are going to be able to follow through with their commitments to you. Everybody's lives are very complex today, and everybody's busy. And generally, work or families first, and their volunteer efforts are lower on that order of priority. So that's what I struggle with quite often, is not knowing whether someone's going to follow through with something and trusting that.
Right. One of the things that I found in my practice over the last few years is when execs talk to me about the volunteer situation, the first question I ask them is, do you create reasonable expectations for the volunteer?
Mm-hmm.
Where you say, okay, this is what I need from you. If you can't do it, that's okay, but just let me know.
Yep.
Do you do anything like that to help?
Yeah, we're really clear about that. Some of that stuff's written down. Yep. I know this wasn't your question or that wasn't what you directly asked, but the other thing that pops in my mind is some of the volunteer research, and we're finding this, is that folks of the silent generation really want to commit to an organization, will stick with them for a long time and really be involved. And then you get into the younger and younger generations. The research is showing that folks want to have project-based, time-limited volunteer support. So that's a hard thing. It's hard to find board members, especially small organizations like ours. It's hard to find folks that want to have that depth and breadth of volunteer commitment.
So do you feel that small organization in today's world really need to look at the roles and expectations of board members too?
Yes, and I don't know what the answer is, but I also think there needs to be a whole different model for board support. Whether there's a super board for youth development in Biddeford and then all of us youth development programs in Biddeford, have our own little advisory groups.
Right.
But I believe there needs to be some movement for some other model for small nonprofit governance.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough blend, I guess. That you're the stopgap for all the work and activities, and you need to rely on a board to do certain things. But the world today is saying boards' roles and responsibilities are a lot different. So you have to find that balance in there.
Yes.
What do you like about being an executive director of a nonprofit?
I think it's more what I like about the one that I'm involved in.
And you've been there how long?
Since the beginning, in this form, 8.5 years.
Okay.
I like the flexibility. I'm a very good generalist. I've been in large nonprofits. I like that I'm the diversity of things I get to do. I like that we can make decisions immediately. They don't take months, or months.
If your board lets you.
Yeah, if my board lets me, and I'm honest with them. Things don't take years.
Right.
So I like that flexibility. I like if a child comes in the door and says, hey, I want to do this. We can say, okay, let's figure out how we're going to do it.
Right. What don't you like about it?
I miss, when I worked in the school system, having blocks of time off like the summer. I love what I do, but I like that shift or that change, every year with the seasons, and having a break to do something, different,
right?
To get rejuvenated in that way.
So almost like a sabbatical type of situation.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about fundraising.
Okay.
The favorite topic of nonprofits. Do you think your fundraising campaigns are relatively successful?
Yes. I mean, we're fortunate that we started 8.5 years ago and we're financially strong right now. When I look out in the future, we need to do some things differently or enhance things that we're currently doing because of changes in funding and different funding raising strategies.
So how do you raise your money? Is it what percentage of grants, individual gifts, events?
About 30% from individual and corporate contributions, about 35-40% from grants. I think 7% from special events. About that same percentage, we sell bikes now and then, so that kind of earn income from that. We recently started a thrift store in Portland with another nonprofit, Camp Ketcha.
Mm-hmm.
The store is called the Portland Gear Hub. So hopefully that will generate more revenue from merchandise sales that store's similar to like a Goodwill, but bike and outdoor gear related.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're not a program. We're a youth development program that's working primarily with under-resourced kids, so we don't have a natural donor base from the kids or the parents of the kids we serve. So, that's really challenging for us.
If I were to tell you there was a donor outside the door right now with a $50,000 check made out to the CBC, what would you do with that money?
One of two things. I would add that to our capital campaign. We are going to be closing on a...
Whoa. You just dropped something brand new here. A capital campaign?
Yep. We've been fortunate. We've been in some donated space the past 8.5 years from the city of Biddeford. We've needed a larger, more effective space, and within the next few days we'll be closing on a building next to Clifford Park in...
Okay, so explain this to me. You're closing on a building.
Yes.
You're embarking on a capital campaign. How much money do you need to raise to purchase the building?
We need to purchase the building $280,000, and
you still need to raise $280,000.
No, we've raised that.
You've raised that already.
Yes, and we've raised another. There are three legs to that stool. One of the legs is raising some of the money that we need for ongoing care of the building. Some people call it a building maintenance endowment.
Right.
We've raised a portion of that.
Wonder who's been pushing that one.
You and me. And so we're working on that leg right now for the money we need to do renovation and build out. And we need $150,000 for that.
So you've been on air with me for almost 15, 20 minutes now.
Yep.
And you're just telling me that you raised $280,000 for a brand new building you just closed on.
Oh, we've raised $320,000.
All right. That even proves my point even more. What's taking you so long to tell us this?
Well, you didn't ask. You always tell me that you have to ask.
Okay. You're right. So I'm asking.
I would also use that if someone donated that $50,000, we would use that to keep our programming going with the kids we serve.
Okay. So how large is your operating budget, not your capital campaign budget?
It's about $190,000 a year.
And about how many kids come through the center on a day?
On a day, 10 to 12 on the average year-round. We're open year-round.
Right. So how many different kids do you think you serve over a year?
Last year we served 341 kids in our direct service program, and that wasn't outreach.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So do you think you're a fixture in Biddeford?
I hope so. We've in this form we've been around 8.5 years. I know we're going to be around at least another year or two.
You better be with a new building.
Yeah. I've been working this way with kids since 2000. Yeah, our first Trek Across Maine team, I used to work at the Wyndham Real School, so that was in 2000.
Okay. So one of the things that I hear you talking about on a regular basis is, and I forget the exact wording, when you talk about external funding using business models.
Mm-hmm.
So the Portland Gear Hub is a trial of an external business to generate revenue to support your ongoing programs.
Yeah, ours and Camp Ketchup.
Okay. So let's just talk about yours right now.
Yep.
So these are new funds that you hopefully will begin to build to allow you to add different things.
Yep, so it'll sustain what we currently do and enhance what we do. Yes.
How many additional staff do you think you need based on your current model?
I haven't had time to think about that.
Okay, take a guess.
I'd say, one.
So
one or two.
If you had one or two more staff people,
yeah,
your life would be that much easy. I'm not going to use easier, that your life would be easier, but you would be able to do more things for the kids.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think about when you ask that was we get asked to do a lot of outreach work. We are getting better at saying no to a lot of that. We get asked for technical support from programs around the country. So we would be able to do that, support other communities to work with kids in this way.
All right. So if you had 15 seconds to tell somebody about why they should get involved in the CBC, and we're going to go off air real quickly.
Yep.
So
I would say that think about who the people and the places were that supported you in getting you to be who you are today and successful today. And that's what the Community Bicycle Center is. We're that place for kids to develop those life skills. Many of the kids we work with don't have people in their lives providing those opportunities for them, and we provide those opportunities for kids to develop those life skills so they'll be successful in relationships, in work, in school, in the community.
okay, great. You went a little over 15 seconds, but that's okay.
You had to cut me off. Practice your social work skills.
I'm not going to invite guests back who know me anymore. If someone wants to get in touch with you or wants to find out more information about the CBC, how would they do that?
Easiest just to remember, go to our website. It's communitybike.net.
Okay.
Communitybike.net.
And you have a great Facebook page where you're always posting some great pictures.
Yep.
Well,
Thank you.
Do that also. Well, I hope this was a good show for you. Andy, thank you.
Thank you, David. Thanks, listeners.
And I'm excited to be with you. And hopefully every Friday we're going to bring more guests like Andy into the studio to interview and learn about nonprofits. Next week, we're going to be interviewing Scott Schnapp. Scott is the executive director of the Maine Association of Nonprofits. And if you know of a nonprofit that would like to be on the show or to be interviewed with us, you can contact me by email at npi@davidunger.net, npi@davidunger.net. So again, thank you for listening this week, and we'll look forward to being back next week at the same time.
Out of this bitter night, I'm a constant seeker in Converse sneakers, always chasing sunsets.
First show jitters, I apologize. The music is courtesy of Mike Hubbard, and you can find it on www.michaelhubbardmusic.com. And I want to give a special thanks to Deb Danger, who's been our engineer and helping us with this.
Door, gonna drive right out of this bitter night. I'm a constant seeker in